Clara Thornton shivers in first class, her breath fogging the chilly cabin air. She asks flight attendant Karen Whitaker for a blanket. Karen smirks. "People like you get no favors here," and hands it to a white passenger. Clara, stunned, whispers to James, "We own Horizon Airways." Karen pales as Clara demands her dismissal. The plane lands, but a passenger's video of the clash explodes online, hinting at a war Clara never saw coming. What will this spark? Before we dive in, tell us where you are watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe for more stories of courage. Clara Thornton grips James's hand as they step off the plane into Los Angeles International Airport, their hearts still racing from the blanket incident, expecting a quiet ride to their hotel for the charity gala. But a swarm of reporters shoves, microphones in their faces, cameras flashing like gunfire, shouting questions about the viral video that's now tearing through the internet, twisted by some faceless editor to make Clara look like she lunged at Karen Whitaker. Her polite request for a blanket morphed into a screaming tirade, and Clara's stomach churns as she sees the headlines on a nearby newsstand, bold letters screaming, "Airline owner attacks flight attendant." Each word a dagger twisting deeper into her 68-year-old frame, her silver hair catching the terminal's harsh lights as she tries to shield James, whose arthritic fingers tremble against her palm. But the crowd presses closer, a sea of strangers hurling questions laced with venom, some muttering racial slurs under their breath, their eyes glinting with the kind of hate Clara thought she'd left behind in her youth. And she whispers to James, "We'll get through this," her voice steady despite the panic clawing at her chest, because she knows they've faced worse in their 40 years of building Horizon Airways from a single plane to a fleet of 200. But this feels different, sharper, like a storm they can't outrun. And as they push through to their waiting car, a text from their assistant buzzes, Clara's phone. The gala organizers have canceled their keynote speech, citing public safety concerns, and Clara's breath catches, the weight of that betrayal heavier than the reporter's glares, because that gala was meant to fund scholarships for Black youth, a cause she and James have poured their souls into, and now it's slipping away. But the real blow lands when they reach their hotel in downtown Los Angeles, a gleaming tower of glass and steel, only to find a mob of 50 protesters outside, their signs scrawled with slurs and lies. Thornton's out of Horizon, and no thugs in first class. Their voices a roaring wave of hate that drowns out the city's hum, and Clara's knees weaken as a bottle shatters against the hotel's marble steps, glass spraying like shrapnel, forcing her and James to duck behind their driver, who ushers them through a side entrance, the mob's chants echoing in Clara's ears as they stumble into the lobby, her heart pounding so hard she fears it'll burst. And in their suite, James slumps into a chair, his brown eyes clouded with exhaustion, while Clara paces, her mind racing to piece together how a single moment on a plane spiraled into this chaos. And she pulls up the viral video on her phone, wincing as she watches the edited footage. Her calm request for a blanket cut to make her look unhinged, her dark skin framed as a threat. And the comments below are a cesspool of racism. Thousands, calling for their resignation, some threatening worse, and Clara's fingers tighten around the phone, her resolve hardening like steel, because she's not just fighting for their reputation, but for every Black person who's been smeared like this. And then James points to a news broadcast on the hotel's television, where Karen Whitaker, her blonde hair perfectly styled, sobs crocodile tears, claiming Clara assaulted her, her story backed by a slick lawyer who Clara recognizes from somewhere. And a chill runs down her spine when the anchor mentions Karen's uncle, Victor Langley, the CEO of SkyVista Airlines, Horizon's biggest rival, a man with a net worth of $3 billion and a reputation for crushing competitors. And Clara's blood runs cold as she realizes this isn't just about a blanket or a fired flight attendant. It's a calculated attack, Langley's hand pulling the strings to ruin them, his influence seeping into the media, the protesters, maybe even the gala's cancellation. And she remembers a boardroom meeting too, years ago when Langley offered to buy Horizon for a fraction of its value, his smirk dripping with condescension when she and James refused. And now she sees his game, using Karen's racism to spark a fire he's fanning into an inferno. And Clara's chest tightens as she thinks of Horizon's 5,000 employees, their livelihoods at stake, and the Black communities they've uplifted through their foundation, all under threat. But the worst comes when she checks her email and finds a message from an anonymous source, A grainy photo of her and James stepping off the plane, circled, in red with the words, "You're done." And Clara's breath hitches, because this isn't just a smear campaign, it's a declaration of war. And she looks at James, his face etched with worry, but his jaw set, and she knows they can't back down, not now, not ever, because retreating would mean letting Langley win, letting every racist who cheered this lie win. And Clara's mind races with plans, her lawyer's instinct kicking in, because she spent decades outsmarting men like Langley in courtrooms and boardrooms, and she swears to herself, her voice low and fierce, that she'll dig up every shred of dirt on him, expose his corruption and make him regret ever crossing them, even as a brick crashes through their suite's window, glass shattering across the carpet, a note tied to it reading, "Leave or else." And Clara's heart pounds, but her eyes burn with defiance, because she knows this is only the beginning, and whatever Langley throws next, she'll be ready, her vow a spark that'll ignite a fight bigger than she can imagine. Clara Thornton's hands shake as she dials a number from a burner phone in their cramped hotel room, the shattered window now boarded up, her heart still reeling from the mob's hatred and the brick that nearly crushed her spirit. But she's clinging to a sliver of hope, because she's reached out to Emily Carter, a journalist with the Los Angeles Chronicle, whose fiery columns on racial justice have earned Clara's trust. And Emily's voice crackles through the line, promising to publish the truth about the doctored video and Victor Langley's smear campaign. Her words a lifeline in the storm that's engulfed Clara and James since that humiliating moment on the plane, when a simple request for a blanket spiraled into a war they never chose. And Clara's 68-year-old frame aches as she sits beside James, his brown eyes scanning news alerts on his tablet. Each headline a fresh wound, accusing them of everything from fraud to inciting violence. But Emily's assurance feels like a shield, and Clara pours her heart out, recounting Karen Whitaker's racist sneer, the edited footage that painted her as a monster, and Langley's shadow looming over it all, his $3 billion empire pulling strings to crush Horizon Airways, their life's work. And Emily listens, her tone warm and urgent, promising a front-page expose that'll turn the tide. And Clara's chest loosens for the first time in days, her mind daring to imagine the public's outrage shifting toward Langley, their 5,000 employees rallying, their scholarship foundation saved. But as she hangs up, a knot forms in her gut, because something in Emily's polished sympathy felt too perfect, too rehearsed. And James's hand squeezes hers, his voice low, warning her to be careful, because they've been burned before. And Clara nods, pushing the doubt aside, because they need this win, need someone to amplify their truth. But the next morning, her phone buzzes with a notification, and her blood runs cold as she opens the Chronicle's website, Emily's byline glaring back. But instead of salvation, the headline screams, "Horizon owners embroiled in tax evasion scandal." Every word a lie, twisting Clara's taxes, paid meticulously for 40 years, into a web of deceit, accusing her and James of siphoning millions from Horizon to fund a lavish lifestyle. And Clara's breath catches, her vision blurring as she reads Emily's venom, the article citing anonymous sources and doctored financial records. Each sentence a betrayal sharper than Karen's sneer, and James's face pales, his arthritic fingers dropping the tablet, because this isn't just a story, it's a guillotine. And within hours the fallout hits like a tidal wave. Protesters, fueled by the article, storm Horizon's headquarters in downtown Los Angeles. A sleek 20-story building now swarmed by 200 screaming voices, their signs demanding the Thorntons' arrest, glass doors shattering under thrown rocks. And Clara watches the live feed from their hotel, her heart splintering as she sees employees fleeing, some in tears, their livelihoods crumbling because of her trust in Emily. And she claws through her emails, desperate for answers, when a call from Horizon's security chief confirms her worst fear. The Federal Aviation Administration has grounded all 200 of their planes, citing safety violations that Clara knows are fabricated, a move that'll bankrupt Horizon in weeks, costing $5 million a day. And she slams her fist on the table, rage boiling over, because this is Langley's doing, his influence strangling their airline. But the real blow lands when security footage from the airport flickers on. The news, showing James being dragged away in handcuffs by TSA agents, his gray suit rumpled, his face etched with defiance as they accuse him of smuggling contraband. A charge so absurd Clara knows it's Langley's revenge, and she races to the airport, her pulse hammering, weaving through crowds who spit slurs and shove her, their hatred a physical weight, until she reaches a holding cell, only to find James gone, transferred to a detention center 30 miles away, and Clara's knees buckle, the betrayal slicing deeper than any mob's chant, because Emily's lies have torn them apart. And in a desperate bid, Clara slips into a maintenance room, her lawyer's instincts kicking in, and finds a guard's unattended phone, its screen glowing with texts between Emily and an unknown number, instructions to bury the Thorntons, and a promise of $50,000. And Clara's breath hitches, because the number traces back to Langley's office, proof he's orchestrating this nightmare, and she pockets the phone, her mind racing with plans to expose Emily's betrayal. But as she slips out, a scream erupts behind her, and she turns to see a group of 10 protesters charging, their eyes wild with rage, and Clara sprints, her 68-year-old legs burning, through a maze of airport corridors, her heart pounding as she ducks into a cargo bay, the protesters' footsteps echoing closer, and she presses against a crate, her fingers clutching the stolen phone. It's evidence her only weapon, because she knows Langley's playing a bigger game, one that's already cost them their safety, their airline, and now James's freedom. And as she catches her breath, the weight of it all threatens to crush her. But Clara's eyes harden, her vow from the hotel blazing brighter, because she'll fight for James, for Horizon, for every black family they've lifted up, and she'll make Langley pay, no matter how deep his claws sink, even as a flashlight beam cuts through the darkness. A protester's voice snarling her name, and Clara knows she's not just running for her life, but for the truth that could end this war. Clara Thornton's heart hammers as she races through the dawn-lit streets of Los Angeles, her stolen phone burning a hole in her pocket, its damning texts from Emily to Victor Langley the only proof she has to turn this nightmare around. Her 68-year-old body aching from dodging the airport mob that nearly caught her, but she's fueled by fury and love for James, who's still locked in a detention center 30 miles away, framed for smuggling in a plot she knows Langley orchestrated, and she pulls every string from her 40 years as a lawyer, calling in favors from old colleagues to secure James's bail, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her, because every second apart feels like a lifetime. And by noon, she's at the detention center, a gray fortress of concrete and barbed wire, where James stumbles out, his gray suit torn, his brown eyes flashing with defiance, and Clara throws her arms around him, tears stinging her cheeks as he whispers, "We're not done yet," his arthritic hands gripping hers, and they slip into a borrowed sedan. Clara's mind racing with plans, because the texts on the phone prove Emily's betrayal was bought by Langley's $3 billion empire, a deliberate strike to ruin Horizon Airways and their legacy of uplifting black communities, and Clara connects the phone to a secure laptop, her fingers flying as she leaks the text to every major news outlet, the messages hitting the internet like a thunderclap, exposing Emily's $50,000 deal to smear them with lies about tax evasion. And within hours, the tide shifts, hashtags like Justice for Thorntons trending across social media, thousands tweeting support, their 5,000 employees sharing stories of the Thorntons' fairness, and protests erupt outside Langley's Sky Vista Airlines headquarters, a gleaming 40-story tower, its stock dropping 10 points by dusk, and Clara's chest swells with hope. The first real spark since that humiliating blanket refusal on their own plane, when Karen Whitaker's racist sneer ignited this war, but she knows Langley, a man who once smirked when she refused his lowball offer to buy Horizon, won't let this slide. And as she and James head to a safe house in South Los Angeles, a modest, 2-story home lent by a loyal pilot, Clara's phone buzzes with a news alert. Langley's issued a statement denying involvement, his polished voice claiming he's a victim of corporate sabotage. And Clara's gut twists because she senses the calm before a storm, and she's right. Because as they pull into the safe house's driveway, 4 masked thugs leap from a black van, their boots thudding on the pavement, one swinging a bat that smashes the sedan's windshield, glass exploding inward. And Clara screams, shoving James down as she floors the gas, the car lurching forward, tires screeching. But a second thug hurls a spike strip, shredding the tires, and the sedan spins, crashing into a mailbox, metal crumpling, and Clara's head slams against the wheel, blood trickling down her temple. But she grabs James, dragging him out, her lawyer's instincts screaming to run, and they sprint toward an alley, the thugs' shouts closing in, their racial slurs slicing through the night, and Clara's lungs burn, her legs trembling. But she pulls James behind a dumpster, her heart pounding as the thugs torch the sedan, flames roaring 20 feet high, the heat searing her skin even from 100 yards away, and Clara's eyes sting with tears, not just for the car, but for the life they've built. Now under siege because of her skin, her success, her refusal to bow. And as the thugs vanish, Clara and James limp to a nearby church, a small brick sanctuary where a pastor, a friend from their scholarship program, hides them in a basement, the air thick with dust and hope. And Clara slumps against a wall, her fingers tracing the stolen phone, still safe in her pocket, and James, catching his breath, finds a stack of papers in the church's office, documents from a whistleblower detailing Langley's plan to bribe federal regulators to keep Horizon grounded, a scheme to bankrupt their airline and seize its routes for Sky Vista. And Clara's pulse quickens, because this is the weapon she needs, proof of Langley's corruption, and she imagines exposing him, saving Horizon's $5 million a day in losses, restoring their name. But as she shares the plan with James, a crash echoes above, glass shattering, and a Molotov cocktail sails through the church's window, flames erupting across the pews, smoke choking the air, and Clara's scream catches in her throat. Because the thugs have found them, Langley's reached deeper than she feared, and she grabs James, shoving him toward a back exit, the fire's heat blistering her skin, the papers clutched to her chest, because she knows they're not just fighting for survival, but for every black family they've sworn to uplift. And as they stumble into the night, flames licking the sky, Clara's resolve hardens, because Langley's attack has only stoked her fire, and she'll burn his empire to the ground before she lets him win. Even as sirens wail in the distance, and a shadow moves in the alley, watching, waiting. Clara Thornton coughs violently, smoke stinging her lungs as she drags James through the church's back exit, flames roaring behind them, the Molotov cocktails blaze swallowing the sanctuary where they'd found fleeting refuge, her 68-year-old body screaming with pain. But she clutches the whistleblower's papers, proof of Victor Langley's bribes to keep Horizon Airways grounded, and James, his gray suit singed, grips her hand, his brown eyes fierce despite the chaos, because they've survived worse in their 40 years of fighting for their airline, built from 1 plane to 200, and now they're running again. The Los Angeles night thick with sirens and the acrid smell of burning wood, their car a smoldering wreck 2 miles back, torched by Langley's thugs who chase them with racial slurs, and Clara's heart pounds as they stumble into a diner, a neon-lit haven where a sympathetic waitress, recognizing them from the news, hides them in a storage room, her whispered "You're heroes" giving Clara a flicker of strength. And there, amidst crates of canned goods, Clara pulls out her burner phone, its battery at 5%, and uploads the bribery documents to a secure server, her fingers trembling as she sends them to every journalist she trusts. The papers detailing Langley's payments of $3 million to FAA officials to cripple Horizon, costing their airline $5 million a day. And by morning, the evidence explodes across the internet. News anchors reading the documents live, their voices shaking with outrage. And Clara watches on the diner's tiny television, her breath catching as the public's fury turns on Langley. Hashtags like "Take Down Sky Vista" trending with 10 million posts, and protests swell outside Langley's 40-story headquarters, his Sky Vista airline stock plummeting 15 points in hours, a loss of $2 billion, and Clara's chest swells, because the FAA, under pressure, lifts Horizon's grounding, their 200 planes cleared to fly, saving their 5,000 employees' jobs and their scholarship foundation for black youth. And James pulls her close, his arthritic fingers warm against her skin, whispering, "We did it." And for a moment, Clara believes they've won. The nightmare that began with Karen Whitaker's racist refusal of a blanket finally breaking, because the public sees them now, not as the monsters Emily's lies painted, but as fighters against a corrupt empire. And they plan a press conference in Chicago, where Horizon's rooted, to reclaim their narrative, and a loyal pilot arranges their private jet, a sleek Gulfstream parked at a small airfield 10 miles away, and Clara's hope soars as they board, her silver hair catching the sunlight. The jet's leather seats a stark contrast to the church's smoke, and she imagines their speech, a call for justice that'll echo across the nation. But as the pilot starts the engines, a mechanic, a young black woman named Tasha, sprints across the tarmac, her face pale, shouting stop, and Clara's stomach drops because Tasha's found a device wired under the wing, a blinking red light that screams danger, and the pilot cuts the engines, seconds ticking like heartbeats, and Tasha, trembling, explains she saw a woman matching Karen Whitaker's description near the jet last night, her blonde hair unmistakable, and Clara's blood runs cold because Karen, fired for her racism, is now Langley's weapon, planting a bomb to erase them. And the bomb squad arrives, defusing the device with 3 seconds to spare, its plastique core enough to vaporize the jet, and Clara's knees buckle, James catching her as she processes the near miss, their victory snatched away, because Langley's not just fighting with bribes or media, he's playing for their lives. And as they retreat to a safe house, a cramped apartment lent by Tasha's cousin, Clara's phone picks up a hacked radio signal, Langley's voice crackling through, smooth and venomous. "You'll never fly again, Clara." And she slams the phone down, rage boiling over. Because this isn't just about their airline or their name. It's about every black person Langley's crushed to climb his $3 billion throne. And Clara's mind races, replaying the blanket incident, the mob, the church fire, each attack more vicious. And she realizes this war is bigger than she imagined, a battle against a system that's always seen her skin as a threat. And James, his voice steady, says, "We've got the evidence. We've got the people. Let's hit harder." And Clara nods, her lawyer's instincts sharpening. Because they've survived a bomb, a fire, a mob, and she'll use every ounce of her strength to expose Langley's next move, to protect their 5,000 employees, their foundation, their legacy. But as she plans their counterattack, a shadow passes the apartment's window, a glint of metal catching the streetlight, and Clara's breath hitches because Langley's not done. His next strike already in motion, and she knows whatever comes next will make the bomb look like a warning shot. Her resolve, the only thing keeping her standing as the war she never wanted grows darker, deadlier, and more personal than ever. Clara Thornton's pulse races as she huddles in the dim safe house, a cramped Los Angeles apartment reeking of mildew, her 68-year-old body bruised from the church fire that nearly consumed her and James, the whistleblower's papers, now ashes, but the bomb on their jet diffused just seconds before it could erase them, burns in her mind. Victor Langley's voice still echoing through that hacked radio. "You'll never fly again," a taunt that fuels her resolve. Because she knows this war, sparked by Karen Whitaker's racist refusal of a blanket, is now a fight for their survival, their airline, and every black family they've sworn to uplift. And as James paces, his gray suit frayed, his brown eyes scanning the street through a cracked blind, Clara's burner phone buzzes, a message from Malik Jackson, a 30-year-old whistleblower who once worked for Langley's Sky Vista Airlines, his text promising dirt that could bury their enemy. And Clara's heart leaps, because after the mob, the media lies, and the FAA's sabotage, she needs an ally. And they meet Malik in a graffiti-streaked alley, his hoodie shadowing a face etched with fear. But his voice is steady as he hands Clara a USB drive, its files detailing Langley's plan to gentrify 10 black neighborhoods in Los Angeles, displacing 30,000 residents to build luxury condos for Sky Vista's elite clients, a scheme backed by $2 million in bribes to city planners, and Clara's stomach churns. Because this isn't just about Horizon's 200 planes or their 5,000 employees. It's about erasing communities like the one she grew up in, where her parents scraped by on $50 a week, and she and James pore over the files, their lawyer minds racing, planning to leak them to the press, imagining the outrage that'll topple Langley's $3 billion empire. But as they draft the email, a video call interrupts, an unknown number flashing, and Clara answers, her breath catching as Langley's face fills the screen, his smirk chilling her bones, and behind him, bound and gagged, is Maya, their 16-year-old granddaughter, her braids matted, her eyes wide with terror. And Langley's voice drips venom. "Give me the USB drive, Clara, or she's gone." And Clara's world tilts, her heart splitting, because Maya's the light of their lives, the girl they've raised to dream big, and James grips her shoulder, his voice a low growl. We can't lose her, and Clara's mind screams for a way out. But Langley's deadline is midnight, 3 hours away, and she agrees to trade the drive, her fingers trembling as she copies the files to a hidden server, praying it's enough. And they drive to an abandoned warehouse in Compton, 10 miles from the safe house. The night thick with fog, Maya's muffled cries echoing as they approach. And Clara hands over the USB, her eyes locked on Langley's, promising silent vengeance, and he releases Maya, who collapses into Clara's arms, sobbing. But as they flee, a roar shakes the ground, and Clara turns to see Horizon's main hangar, 5 miles away, erupting in flames, a fireball lighting the sky, its 10 planes reduced to molten steel, a loss of $50 million. And Clara's knees buckle, because Langley's not just fighting, he's dismantling their legacy. And as they reach the car, Maya safe but trembling, Clara finds a note slipped into her pocket. Langley's handwriting scrawling "Your family's next," and her blood runs cold, because this is personal, a strike at the heart of everything she loves. And James pulls her close, his arthritic fingers steady despite the chaos, whispering, "We'll rebuild." But Clara's mind reels, replaying the blanket incident, the mob, the bomb, each attack more vicious, and now Maya's safety, their hangar, their hope, all torched by Langley's racism-fueled vendetta. And she realizes he's not just after Horizon, he's after their spirit, their right to exist as black success. And Clara's chest tightens because the files are safe, but the cost was too high. And as they speed away, the hangar's glow fading, she checks the safe house's security feed on her phone, her breath hitching as it shows a figure tampering with the locks. Langley's reached deeper than she feared, and Clara's resolve hardens, because she's survived a kidnapping, a fire, a bomb, and she'll protect Maya, James, their 5,000 employees, their foundation, no matter what. But as they turn a corner, headlights flare behind them, a black van gaining, and Clara knows Langley's next move is already here, his $3 billion claws tightening, and she grips the wheel, her vow, to fight blazing brighter because this war is far from over. And whatever he throws next will test her like never before. Clara Thornton's heart thunders as she grips the wheel, speeding through Los Angeles's pre-dawn streets. Maya trembling in the back seat, her 16-year-old frame curled tight after her kidnapping. The note from Victor Langley, "Your family's next," burning in Clara's pocket. The glow of Horizon's torched hangar still haunting her, $50 million in planes reduced to ash. And James, beside her, his gray suit stained with soot, scans the rearview mirror, because the black van tailing them from the warehouse is gone. But Clara knows Langley's $3 billion claws are tightening, his retaliation for the files she copied, proof of his plan to displace 30,000 black residents. And she's determined to strike back, because this war, sparked by Karen Whitaker's racist refusal of a blanket, has cost them their safety, their legacy, and nearly Maya's life. And now, with Malik's USB files safe on a hidden server, Clara plans her boldest move, crashing Sky Vista's shareholder meeting at a glitzy downtown hotel, a 30-story palace of glass where Langley's board is gathering to salvage his plummeting stock, down 15 points since she exposed his FAA bribes. And Clara's 68-year-old body aches, her silver hair matted from the church fire, but her lawyer's mind is razor sharp, and she and James, with Maya safely hidden at a friend's, disguise themselves in stolen maintenance uniforms, their faces shadowed by caps, and slip into the hotel's service entrance, the air thick with the scent of polished marble and greed. And Clara's pulse spikes as they reach the ballroom, 500 shareholders in tailored suits sipping champagne, Langley's voice booming from a podium, spinning lies about economic growth. But Clara's burner phone is ready, connected to a hacked projector, and she hits send, live streaming Malik's files to 10 million viewers, the screen flashing with Langley's emails, bank transfers, and maps marking black neighborhoods for demolition, and gasps ripple through the crowd, shareholders' faces paling as Clara's voice cuts through, amplified by a stolen mic. "This is the man you trust, a racist tearing apart our city," and the room erupts, some shouting in outrage, others fleeing, and outside, protests swell. 10,000 voices paralyzing Los Angeles, blocking freeways for 5 miles, their signs demanding justice, and Clara's chest swells because the city's awake. Langley's board turning on him, voting to oust him as CEO, his $3 billion empire cracking, and James pulls her close, his arthritic fingers trembling with hope, whispering, "We've got him." And for a moment, Clara believes they've won. The nightmare that began on that first-class flight finally fracturing, but as they slip out aside, Dower planning to return home, a news alert blares on a lobby television, and Clara's blood runs cold because Langley's on screen, his smirk unshaken, announcing a tragic arson at a Sky Vista warehouse, and the suspect is Clara's brother, Marcus, a 55-year-old teacher with no criminal record, his mugshot plastered everywhere, accused of torching $10 million in equipment, and Clara's knees weaken because Marcus was at a school event last night, 200 miles away, and this is Langley's revenge, framing her family to twist the narrative, and she clutches James, her mind reeling, because their home, a 2-story haven in Baldwin Hills, is their only sanctuary. But as they race there, dodging protest crowds, a deafening blast shakes the ground, and Clara screams, their house exploding. In a fireball, flames soaring 30 feet, glass and wood raining down. Their 40 years of memories, photos, Maya's childhood drawings, all gone, a loss heavier than the hangar's $50 million. And Clara's vision blurs with tears, her heart splintering, because Langley's mercenaries rigged the gas line, a trap to erase them, and sirens wail as police swarm, not to help, but to hunt, because Langley's voice crackles on the news, branding Clara and James terrorists, claiming they orchestrated the arson to destabilize Sky Vista, and Clara's breath catches, because the city, once rallying for them, now turns, neighbors staring from sidewalks, some shouting slurs, and Clara realizes they're fugitives, their airline, their foundation, their family under siege. And James pulls her into an alley, his brown eyes fierce. "We're still here. We fight." And Clara nods, her lawyer's instincts kicking in, because she survived a mob, a bomb, a kidnapping, and she'll protect Marcus, Maya, their 5,000 employees no matter what. But as they slip into a borrowed car, Clara's phone pings with a text from an unknown number, a photo of Marcus in handcuffs, blood on his face, and Langley's words, "You can't hide," and Clara's resolve hardens. Because this isn't just about a blanket or a hanger. It's about a system that's always punished her skin, her success, and she replays every attack, the media lies, the church fire, each more vicious. And now they're home, their brother, their hope, all targeted by Langley's racism-fueled vendetta. And as they drive into the night, Los Angeles' skyline fading, Clara knows they're not just running for their lives but for a truth that could end Langley's reign. But a helicopter's spotlight cuts through the darkness, its beam locking on their car, and Clara grips the wheel, her vow to fight blazing, because Langley's next strike is already here, and whatever comes will make the explosion look like a spark. Her spirit the only thing keeping her moving as the war grows deadlier than ever. Clara Thornton's breath rattles in her chest as she floors the gas, the borrowed car's engine screaming through Los Angeles' shadowed streets, the helicopter's spotlight slicing the night, its beam pinning them like prey, James clutching the door, his brown eyes wide with fear, because they're fugitives now, branded terrorists by Victor Langley after their house exploded, a fireball that erased 40 years of memories, their brother Marcus framed for arson, and Clara's 68-year-old body trembles, her silver hair plastered with sweat, the weight of this war, sparked by Karen Whitaker's racist blanket refusal, crushing her. But she swerves into an alley, hoping to lose the chopper, only to hear tires screech behind them, 3 black SUVs cutting off their escape. And before Clara can react, bounty hunters, 6 men in tactical gear, smash the windows, glass spraying like shrapnel, and drag them out, her knees scraping asphalt, James's arthritic hands cuffed, his shout drowned by their slurs, and Clara's heart splits. Because these aren't police. They're Langley's hired dogs, paid from his $3 billion empire to silence them. And she's blindfolded, the world reduced to darkness and the stench of leather, as they're driven 30 miles to an off-grid facility, a concrete bunker hidden in the desert, its steel doors slamming shut, and Clara's shoved into a cell her wrists chained, the air thick with mildew and despair. And James is torn from her, his voice fading down a corridor. And Clara's alone, her mind replaying every blow, the mob, the bomb, Maya's kidnapping, the hangar's $50 million ruin, each attack more vicious, but nothing prepares her for the cell door creaking open. Karen Whitaker stepping in, her blonde hair gleaming under fluorescent lights, her sneer sharper than ever, because she's no longer just the flight attendant who sparked this nightmare. She's Langley's enforcer, her eyes glinting with hate as she grips a taser. Its buzz filling the room and Clara's stomach lurches, because Karen's here to break her, and the taser's jolt hits, electricity searing Clara's skin, her screams echoing off concrete. And Karen laughs. "You thought you'd win? You don't belong here?" Her words a venomous echo of that first-class slight. And Clara's vision blurs, pain radiating through her 68-year-old frame. But Karen's not done. She's broadcasting the torture live. A grainy feed sent to 10 million viewers, Langley's voice crackling through a speaker. This is what happens to threats. And Clara's heart sinks because he's not just hurting her. He's shattering the public's hope. The protests that paralyzed Los Angeles after she exposed his gentrification plan, and as Karen pauses, wiping sweat from her brow, Langley enters, his tailored suit a stark contrast to Clara's bloodied clothes, and he leans close, his breath hot. "I've framed your son David for embezzling $20 million from Horizon." And Clara's world collapses, because David, their 40-year-old accountant, is the heart of their foundation, funding scholarships for black youth, and now he's in cuffs, his face on every news channel. Horizon stock plummeting another 10 points, bankrupting their airline, their 5,000 employees' jobs hanging by a thread. And Clara's tears fall, not from the pain, but from the weight of her family's ruin. Marcus, David, Maya, all targeted because of her skin, her success, and Langley smirks. "You're finished, Clara, no one's coming," and he leaves. Karen locking the door, the broadcast still running, and Clara's body slumps, her strength fading. 3 days without food, her lips cracked, her wrists raw, and she thinks of James, somewhere in this bunker, maybe broken too, and the protests, maybe silenced, and Horizon, maybe gone, and the darkness creeps in, whispering surrender. But Clara's eyes catch a jagged edge on the cell wall, and her lawyer's instincts flare, because she survived a mob, a fire, a bomb, and she won't let Langley win. Not now, not ever. And with trembling fingers, she carves into the concrete. "We rise," each letter a defiance, a promise to Maya, to David, to their 5,000 employees, to every black family they've lifted up, and the words steady her, her spirit clawing back, because this is Langley's game, using racism to crush what he can't buy. And Clara replays every attack, the media lies, the hangar fire, each meant to erase her, but she's still here. And as she finishes carving, a faint crackle breaks, the silence, a radio signal from another cell, a voice she doesn't know, whispering, "Hold on." And Clara's breath catches, because someone's out there, someone's fighting, and she knows Langley's not invincible, his $3 billion empire built on lies, and she'll expose him, save David, find James, no matter the cost. But as the radio fades, footsteps echo, heavier than Karen's, and Clara braces, her carved message glowing in her mind, because Langley's next move is coming, and whatever it is, it'll make the torture look like a warning, her defiance the only light in this endless night, as the door creaks open, and the war she never wanted grows darker than ever. Clara Thornton's body trembles in the icy cell, her wrists raw from chains. The words "we rise" carved into the concrete, her only anchor after days of Karen Whitaker's torture. Victor Langley's broadcast of her pain searing her spirit. Her son David framed for embezzling $20 million, her 68-year-old frame battered but unbowed. And James, somewhere in this desert bunker, his fate unknown, when the door groans open, not with Karen's sneer but a shadow slipping. In a woman in a pilot's uniform, her dark eyes fierce, whispering, "I'm Sophia, I'm getting you out." And Clara's heart leaps, because this stranger, a 35-year-old rogue pilot from Horizon Airways, risks everything to save them, her hands deftly picking the locks, and Clara stumbles free, her legs weak, following Sophia through a maze of corridors, the air thick with mildew and fear, until they reach James, his gray suit bloodied, his brown eyes lighting up as he grips Clara's hand, and Sophia leads them to a ventilation shaft, 10 feet of claustrophobic steel, their breaths echoing as they crawl, the bunker's alarms blaring. Because Langley's $3 billion empire won't let them go. Not after Clara exposed his gentrification plan, his FAA bribes, his arson frame-up of her brother Marcus, and Sophia's voice, low and urgent, reveals Langley's ties to a racist lobbying group, the American Purity Alliance, funneling $5 million to push anti-black policies, and Clara's blood boils, because this war, sparked by a racist blanket refusal, isn't just about Horizon's 200 planes, or their 5,000 employees. It's about a system that's always targeted her skin, and Sophia's plan is bold: steal Langley's laptop from his office in the bunker, its data a key to dismantling his empire, and Clara nods, her lawyer's instincts flaring, because she's survived a mob, a bomb, a kidnapping, and she'll fight for David, Marcus, Maya, and every black family they've uplifted. And they slip into Langley's office, a sterile room of glass and chrome, the laptop glowing on a desk. But as Sophia hacks the password, boots thunder outside, and Clara's pulse spikes, because Langley's guards are closing in, and they grab the laptop, sprinting through a loading dock, diving into Sophia's stolen truck, its tires screeching as they tear into the desert, 30 miles from Los Angeles, the night sky a canvas of stars and danger. But Langley's retaliation is swift, a citywide manhunt flooding every news channel. Drones buzzing over the city, their faces plastered on billboards, accused of hacking Sky Vista's systems, a lie that turns neighbors into hunters, and Clara's chest tightens, clutching the laptop, its files detailing Langley's lobbying, payments, enough to spark federal probes. But as they reach a safe house, a boarded-up garage in Inglewood, Sophia's phone rings, and her face pales, because Langley's voice crackles through, her 20-year-old brother Diego, bound and bleeding on a video call, and Langley's demand is clear: return the laptop by dawn, 10 hours away, or Diego dies, and Clara's heart splits, because Sophia risked her life for them, her brother now paying the price, and James's voice trembles. We can't let him die. But Clara's mind races, because the laptop's data could save Horizon, free David, expose Langley's racist network, and she replays every attack, the media lies, the hangar fire, the torture, each more vicious, and now Diego's life hangs in the balance. A cruel twist in Langley's game, and Sophia's eyes plead, her loyalty to Clara clashing with her love for Diego, and Clara's lawyer's mind churns, searching for a way to save both Diego and the data. But as they plan, the safe houses, lights flicker, and Clara's breath catches, because drones hum outside, their red eyes scanning the streets. Langley's manhunt closing in, and the laptop's battery blinks at 10%, their window shrinking. And Clara knows this choice will define them, because Langley's not just after their airline, he's after their souls, crushing their hope, their family, their fight. And she grips Sophia's hand, her resolve hardening, because she survived a bomb, a fire, a beating, and she'll protect Sophia's brother, their 5,000 employees, their foundation, no matter what. But as they move to copy the files, a brick crashes through the window, glass shattering, a note tied to it reading "You're mine," and Clara's pulse hammers, because Langley's $3 billion reach is suffocating, his next strike already here, and she knows whatever comes will make the manhunt look like a warning, her spirit blazing as the drone's hum grows louder, and the war she never wanted grows deadlier than ever. Clara Thornton's hands tremble as she huddles in the Inglewood safe house, the boarded-up garage shaking under the hum of Langley's drones, their red eyes scanning the night. Sophia's face etched with fear for her kidnapped brother Diego, the stolen laptop's battery at 10%, its data, proof of Victor Langley's $5 million ties to a racist lobbying group. Their last hope to end this war, sparked by Karen Whitaker's blanket refusal, and Clara's 68-year-old body aches, her silver hair damp with sweat. But her lawyer's mind is sharp because she survived torture, a manhunt, and Maya's kidnapping, and she won't let Langley's $3 billion empire crush their spirit. So she connects the laptop to a shaky Wi-Fi signal, her fingers racing to leak the files to every major news outlet. James beside her, his gray suit torn, his brown eyes fierce as he guards the door, and Sophia, her pilot's instincts steady, backs up the data on a USB because Diego's life hangs on Langley's dawn deadline, and as Clara hits send, the files flood the internet, exposing Langley's payments to the American Purity Alliance, emails detailing anti-black policies, and bank records tying him to gentrification that displaced 30,000 residents. And within hours, the world erupts. News anchors breaking the story live. Federal agents raiding Langley's 40-story Sky Vista headquarters, their helicopters buzzing over Los Angeles, and Clara watches on a cracked phone screen, her heart soaring as protests swell, 20,000 voices shutting down freeways for 10 miles, demanding Langley's arrest, and Horizon's stock, battered by David's embezzlement frame-up, surges. 30 points. Their 5,000 employees cheering in viral videos, their scholarship foundation saved, and Clara grips James's hand, his arthritic fingers warm, whispering we're winning. Because the public, once swayed by Langley's terrorist lies, now sees the truth. And Clara believes they've finally broken his grip. The nightmare that began in first class nearing its end. So they contact Senator Elaine Harper, a vocal ally against corporate corruption, who promises protection and a safe house in Pasadena, 15 miles away. And Clara's hope surges, imagining Diego freed, David and Marcus cleared, their airline restored. But as they drive to the senator's safe house, a sprawling mansion hidden behind iron gates, Clara's gut twists, because Harper's smile is too polished, her handshake too quick, and Sophia's eyes narrow, sensing the same unease. But they follow her inside, exhaustion clouding their judgment, and Harper offers tea, its steam curling in the air, and Clara sips, her vision blurring, her limbs growing heavy, and she realizes, too late, the tea's drugged, her body slumping. To the floor, James and Sophia collapsing beside her, and Harper's voice, cold and sharp, cuts through the fog. Langley pays better. And Clara's heart shatters, because this betrayal after the mob, the bomb, the torture, is a blade to their core, and she wakes in a desert compound, 50 miles from the city, her wrists chained to a rusted pipe, James and Sophia gone, the laptop destroyed, and Langley looms over her, his tailored suit pristine, his smirk venomous. I burned your evidence, Clara, and broadcast a deepfake of you confessing to fraud. And Clara's breath catches, because the news, playing on a dusty monitor, shows her face, her voice, admitting to stealing $20 million from Horizon, a lie watched by 15 million people, their stock crashing again, their foundation frozen, and Langley leans close, his breath hot. You're buried alive. No one's coming. And Clara's mind reels, replaying every attack, the media lies, the hangar fire, David's framing, each more vicious, and now this deep fake, this compound, this betrayal, stripping their hope, their family, their fight. And she thinks of Maya, safe but vulnerable, and Diego, still Langley's captive, and Clara's tears fall, her 68-year-old body broken. But her spirit claws back, because she's survived a fire, a manhunt, a beating, and she won't let Langley win. Not when their 5,000 employees, their foundation, their legacy depend on her. And she tests the chains, her wrists bleeding, searching for a weakness, because Harper's betrayal was Langley's plan, using racism to crush what he can't control. And Clara knows the deepfake's a lie, the raid's real, the protest alive, and she'll find James, save Sophia, free Diego, expose Langley's final lie. But as she strains, a guard's radio crackles, Langley's voice ordering a new broadcast, and Clara's pulse hammers, because his next move is coming, and whatever it is, it'll make the bombing look like a spark, her resolve the only thing, keeping her alive as the compound's walls close in, and the war she never wanted grows darker than ever. Clara Thornton's wrists bleed as she twists against the rusted chains in the desert compound, 50 miles from Los Angeles, her 68-year-old body battered by Senator Harper's betrayal, the drugged tea, and Victor Langley's deepfake that painted her a fraud, her son David framed, Horizon Airways crumbling, and Langley's vow to bury her alive echoing in her ears. But her spirit burns, fueled by the "We Rise" carved in her cell, because she survived torture, a manhunt, and a bombed safe house. And she won't let his $3 billion empire win, Not when Maya, James, and Sophia's brother Diego are at stake. And as a guard's boots echo, Clara spots a loose bolt in the pipe, her lawyer's fingers prying it free, pain shooting through her arms, but she works faster. The bolt clattering to the floor, the chain slipping loose, and she stumbles to the door, her heart pounding because she's alone. James and Sophia somewhere in this maze, and she creeps through shadowed corridors, the air heavy with diesel and fear, until she finds a control room, its monitors glowing with Langley's broadcasts, and Clara's breath catches, because one screen shows James, chained but alive, and another shows Diego, still captive, and her resolve hardens, because this war, sparked by Karen Whitaker's racist sneer, is about more than a blanket. It's about every black family they've uplifted, and she hacks the system. Her old law school tech tricks rusty but enough, rerouting a satellite feed to live stream from her burner phone, its battery at 3%, and she slips outside, the desert night biting her skin, to find Langley's office, a prefab trailer lit by floodlights, where he's gloating to guards, his voice smug. They'll never recover. And Clara records, her phone capturing his confession. I paid the senator, framed their son, bombed their jet, because people like them don't deserve power. And she uploads it, the feed going live to 20 million viewers. Langley's words igniting the internet, and Clara's chest swells because Los Angeles erupts. Protesters, 30,000 strong, flooding the city, their chants shaking the ground, and she runs, guards shouting, their boots pounding. But a roar grows louder, headlights piercing the darkness, and Clara's heart leaps. Because protesters, alerted by the live stream, storm the compound, their cars smashing gates, their voices drowning out gunfire. And Clara dives behind a crate, spotting Karen Whitaker, her blonde hair wild, wielding a knife. And Clara charges, her 68-year-old strength surging, tackling Karen, the knife skittering across sand. And they grapple, Karen slurs, spitting, "You'll never win." But Clara pins her knee on Karen's chest, until protesters drag Karen away. And Clara stumbles to a holding cell, finding James, his gray suit shredded, freeing him. And he pulls her close, his arthritic hands trembling. But his brown eyes blaze, because he's found Maya, hidden in a locked shed, her 16-year-old, frame shaking but unharmed. And James whispers, "I got her." And Clara's tears fall, her family whole. But alarms scream, and Langley's voice booms over a loudspeaker, "You're all dead." And Clara's stomach drops, because a timer on a monitor counts down. 10 seconds, a bomb rigged to level the compound, its plastique core enough to kill thousands. And Clara's mind races, her lawyer's instincts screaming, and she sprints to the control room, protesters clearing a path, their faith in her a lifeline. And she rewires the bomb signal, redirecting it to a distant dune, her fingers shaking as the timer hits 0, and a fireball erupts 5 miles away, sand raining down, the compound spared, and Clara collapses, protesters cheering, their voices a thunderclap, because she's saved them, Horizon, her family, and the live stream's gone viral, Langley's confession looping on every news channel, his $3 billion empire collapsing, Sky Vista's stock at 0, and Clara grips James and Maya, her heart pounding, because they've won. The nightmare that began in first class finally broken, and she thinks of David, Marcus, their 5,000 employees, their foundation, all salvageable. But as protesters carry them to safety, Clara's phone pings. A message from Sophia, still missing, Diego's fate unknown, and Clara's breath catches, because Langley's guards are fleeing, but he's not done, and she replays. Every attack, the media lies, the torture, the deepfake, each more vicious. And now this bomb, this confession, this victory. But Sophia's absence gnaws, and Clara knows Langley's final strike is coming, because his racism-fueled vendetta won't die easily. And as the protesters' cheers fade, a helicopter rises from the compound, Langley's silhouette inside, and Clara's resolve hardens, because she's survived a fire, a beating, a bomb, and she'll find Sophia, save Diego, end Langley's reign, no matter what. Her spirit blazing as the desert dust settles, and the war she never wanted burns hotter than ever. Clara Thornton's heart races as she grips James's hand, Maya clinging to them, the desert compound's dust still coating their clothes, the echo of the redirected bomb's fireball 5 miles away fading, their live-streamed exposure of Victor, Langley's confession, his admission to framing their son David, bribing officials, and bombing their jet, still ringing in her ears, 20 million viewers watching his $3 billion empire crumble. But her 68-year-old body trembles because Sophia and Diego are missing, and Langley's helicopter escape haunts her, a sign his racism-fueled vendetta isn't over. And as protesters carry them to a safe house in South Los Angeles, a cramped basement lit by a single bulb, Clara's hope phrase, because news breaks on a battered radio, Langley's allies, a cabal of Sky Vista board members, have destroyed the confession footage, claiming it was manipulated, and a corrupt judge, pocketed by Langley's $5 million, releases him from custody, his smirk plastered on every channel, declaring his innocence, and Clara's stomach lurches because the victory she clawed for, through torture, manhunts, and betrayal, is unraveling. And worse comes when she sips from a water bottle, its taste bitter, her throat burning. And James collapses, his gray suit soaked with sweat, his brown eyes rolling back, and Clara screams, realizing Karen Whitaker, Langley's enforcer, poisoned their water supply, her blonde hair flashing in Clara's memory from that first-class sneer. And paramedics rush James to a hospital 15 miles away, his heart faltering, a toxin eating his 69-year-old body, and Clara's tears fall, her lawyer's mind reeling, because this is Langley's revenge, striking their family again. And Maya, her 16-year-old frame shaking, begs Clara to stay safe. But the police, now Langley's pawns, label them fugitives again, their faces on every billboard, accused of inciting terrorism. And Clara's chest tightens because Los Angeles, once alive with 30,000 protesters, turns hostile, neighbors spitting slurs, and she and Maya flee, dodging drones buzzing 10 feet above, their red eyes hunting, and Clara's heart splinters, replaying every attack, the mob, the hangar's $50 million ruin, David's framing, each more vicious, and now James's. Life hangs by a thread, their airline stock crashing, their foundation frozen, and a contact, a former Horizon mechanic named Jamal, hides them with a resistance network, a group of 20 activists in a warehouse 10 miles from downtown, their walls lined with plans to dismantle Langley's empire. And Clara's resolve flickers, because these fighters, Black, Latino, Asian, share her rage. Their leader, a 40-year-old coder named Aisha, handing Clara a burner laptop. And as Clara checks James's condition, stable but critical, she learns Langley's burned horizons. Last office, a 5-story hub. Its servers melted, a loss of $20 million, leaving their 5,000 employees jobless. And a note arrives, slipped under the warehouse door, Langley's handwriting scrawling, "You're finished." And Clara's breath catches, because this is personal, a strike at their core. But Aisha reveals a hidden file on the laptop, a fragment from Langley's destroyed data, hinting at a larger conspiracy, a network of CEOs funding racist policies. And Clara's pulse quickens because this could be the key to ending Langley's reign, saving David, Marcus, and their foundation. But the warehouse's lights flicker, and Aisha whispers drones, and Clara's knees weaken, because Langley's $3 billion reach is suffocating, his manhunt tightening. And she grips Maya's hand, her lawyer's instincts churning, because she survived a fire, a beating, a deepfake, and she'll protect her family, their employees, their legacy, no matter what. But as they prepare to move, a radio crackles, a hospital update, James's condition worsening, and Clara's tears fall, because Langley's poison is killing him, and the file's fragment mentions a meeting. Tomorrow, 50 miles away, where Langley's allies will plan their next strike, and Clara knows she must act, because this war, sparked by a blanket, is about more than Horizon. It's about a system that's always punished her skin, her success, and she replays every betrayal. The senator's drugged tea, Karen's torture, each meant to erase her. But she's still here, and as the drone's hum grows louder, Clara vows to expose the conspiracy, save James, find Sophia, free Diego. But a shadow moves outside, a glint of steel catching the moonlight, and Clara's pulse hammers, because Langley's next strike is here, and whatever it is, It'll make the poisoning look like a warning. Her spirit, the only thing keeping her standing as the war she never wanted grows darker than ever. Clara Thornton's breath fogs in the chilly Los Angeles warehouse, her 68-year-old body bruised but unyielding, Maya gripping her hand. The drones hum fading outside as the resistance network scrambles to protect them. James fighting for life in a hospital 15 miles away, poisoned by Karen Whitaker's venom. Victor Langley's $3 billion empire burning Horizon's last office, their 5,000 employees jobless. And Clara's heart aches, the hidden file on the burner laptop her only weapon, its fragment hinting at a conspiracy beyond. Langley, a network of CEOs fueling racist policies, and her lawyer's mind races. Because this war, sparked by a blanket refusal, has cost her son David's freedom, her brother Marcus's reputation, Maya's safety, and nearly James's life. But she's survived mobs, bombs, torture, and betrayal, and she won't let Langley's final strike win. So she and Aisha, the resistance leader, decrypt the file, their fingers flying over keys, uncovering a global cabal, 10 CEOs funneling $50 million to suppress black leaders worldwide. Langley their puppet, and Clara's pulse hammers. Because this is bigger than Sky Vista, bigger than their 200 planes. It's a system that's always targeted her skin, and she leaks the file to the FBI, her burner phone signal bouncing through encrypted servers, and within hours, federal agents swarm, arresting Langley at his Malibu mansion, his tailored suit rumpled, his smirk gone, a permanent detention as his empire collapses, Sky Vista's stock at zero, and Clara's chest swells, because Horizon's stock surges, their foundation unfrozen, David and Marcus cleared, their 5,000 employees rehired, and she races to the hospital, finding James awake, his brown eyes weak but warm, his arthritic hands squeezing hers, and Maya sobs, their family whole, and Clara's tears fall, because they've rebuilt from ashes, their airline, their legacy, their hope, and she organizes a march, 50,000 strong, shutting down Los Angeles' streets for 10 miles, their voices a thunderclap demanding justice. And Clara steps to a podium in Pershing Square, her silver hair catching the sun, her voice live-streamed to 1 billion viewers. I'm Clara Thornton, and we rise. Her speech recounting the blanket incident, the mob, the deep fake. Each attack a badge of their resilience, inspiring millions to fight systemic racism. And she unveils a digital monument, a virtual wall honoring victims of racial injustice, its pixels glowing on screens globally, viewed by 2 billion. And Clara's heart soars, because this is their victory, not just over Langley, but over a system that tried to erase them. And as the crowd cheers, a whistleblower, a former Sky Vista intern named Malik, slips her a note, his hands shaking, revealing Karen Whitaker was a pawn, hired by the cabal to spark this war, her racism a tool for a secret network targeting black success. And Clara's breath catches, because this isn't the end, it's a new beginning. And she looks at the blanket, now framed in the Resistance's warehouse, the one Karen refused her, its faded blue threads a symbol of their unbroken spirit. And Clara's mind replays every attack, the hangar's $50 million ruin, the torture, the deep fake, each meant to break her. But she's still here, her family, her airline, her foundation standing tall, and she grips James's hand, Maya's smile lighting the dusk, because they've exposed a global network, saved their legacy, and inspired a movement. But Malik's note warns of a meeting, tomorrow, 100 miles away, where the cabal plans its next move. And Clara's resolve hardens, because she survived a fire, a beating, a bomb, and she'll dismantle this network, protect her, 5,000 employees, their scholarships, their future, no matter what. And as the march disperses, Los Angeles' skyline glowing, Clara knows this war, sparked by a single act of racism, has ignited a fight she'll never abandon. Her spirit blazing as a shadow watches from the crowd, a new enemy's gaze chilling her bones, and the battle she never wanted stretches into the unknown. Her vow to rise the only truth that matters. The story of Clara and James Thornton teaches profound lessons about resilience against systemic racism. First, their fight shows that courage can turn a single act of injustice, a racist blanket refusal, into a movement. Clara's refusal to bow despite mobs, bombs, and betrayal proves that inner strength outlasts hate. Her 68-year-old spirit, carving "We Rise" in a cell, reminds us to hold fast to hope, no matter the odds. Second, the story exposes how racism festers in systems, not just individuals. Victor Langley's $3 billion empire, backed by a global cabal, weaponized media, law, and violence to crush Black success, revealing the need to dismantle institutional power. Clara's strategic leaks and viral speech inspiring 50,000 marchers show that truth and unity can topple even the mightiest oppressors. Third, family and community are lifelines. Clara's love for Maya, James, David, and Marcus, paired with the Resistance Network's support, fueled her fight, teaching us to lean on those who share our values. Finally, the blanket, framed as a symbol, underscores that small slights carry weight, igniting wars when ignored. The whistleblower's reveal of a larger cabal warns that vigilance is eternal. We must rise like Clara to challenge racism daily, using our voices to spark change. What's a moment you stood up to injustice? Comment below, hit like if you're inspired, subscribe for more racism stories, and share to spread Clara's fight. Thank you for joining this journey. May you find strength to rise against hate.